What's up, folks? We have made it to our final content lecture. There'll be one more for you to watch and read. This kind of a course wrap up, and thanks for being here for you. But this is our last one, Accountability in Public Administration. And I have done my very best, because it is the last one, and you've made it through all of these, to make this one pretty short, much shorter than the other ones that we have. So we start out with our question. This is our last question. Who watches the watchers? Every kind of module, everything we've gone over really kind of circles around that question. We've given public administrators an enormous amount of power to tax, to spend, to permit or deny, to decide who's eligible for what, to inspect and license private activity. Modules 5 through 14 were largely how they used that. This module is the check on it. How democratic societies hold administrators accountable while still letting them do their jobs. That while still is the whole difficulty. An agency you can't control is dangerous. An agency you've controlled so tightly it can't act is useless. So pair this with the accountability mechanisms handout that I'll post along with it. It carries a detailed breakdown of each mechanism. So this one's short, focused. So what accountability actually means? It is the obligation to answer for one's actions to some higher authority. For us, it has three components: answerability, the obligation to provide information and explanations; enforceability, real consequences for poor performance or misconduct; and controllability, the ability to direct, influence, or constrain behavior going forward. A city manager has all three. They're answerable to the council, enforceable through firing, controllable through the charter. This is kind of really important for us to understand, no matter what type of public administrator you are, what level of government you're working in, or what agency that you find yourself. So there are 5 types of accountability: political, those elected officials and voters; legal, to courts and law; administrative, within the organization; professional, to your profession; and social, to the public and to the community. A couple different models for how oversight actually happens, and it's the police patrol versus fire alarm. Police patrol is continuous and proactive. It's regular budget reviews, performance dashboards, scheduled inspections, things we've already talked about. This catches problems early, but it's expensive, and somebody has to be doing it all the time. Fire alarm is kind of more how things happen. When the stuff hits the fan, it's reactive and it's event-driven. Somebody outside the agency, a journalist, complaint, the public, someone pulls the alarm and the oversight responds. It's cheap because you only pay when something's wrong, right? But it depends on somebody noticing and having enough power to be heard. Legislatures overwhelmingly prefer the fire alarm because they have limited time, limited attention, and they get the political credit for responding right away. That's much larger than the credit that they would get for preventing one. So a lot of oversight happens after the fact. So internal versus external. Internal mechanisms: chain of command, internal affairs, Q&A, performance management, performance standards. Insiders understand the work, they know where the bodies are buried, and they can act quickly. External mechanisms like civilian oversight boards, investigative journalism, interest groups, judicial review, inspectors general, auditors, they have independence. They are there as the kind of external check on the organization. Attention is structural. So internal knowledge versus external independence. You can't maximize both, which is why every real accountability system layers them. Public Works Department reports to the city manager, is funded by the council, constrained by the courts, regulated by state agencies. So 4 watchers, none of them are sufficient alone, right? Where accountability breaks down. One is the information asymmetry. Agencies know more internally than their overseers, right? They control what gets out there. You can add gaming, hinting at a metric without improving the performance. And oversight can be formally satisfied while nothing changes, right? This is kind of gaming the system for performance management in a real sense, right? Because there is you keep certain information within the agency and only share out part of it, right? That's an information asymmetry. Diffused responsibility. So when federal, state, and local and contracted actors all touch a program, there's no real clear ownership, right? Private service delivery is the sharpest version, right? So private contractors base profit incentives, restrict asset access to their operations, and they often serve population with the least voice, right? So the responsibility is diffuse. And so who do you hold accountable when something goes wrong, when everybody has their little bit of their hand in the pot? And then protections that shield poor performance. Civil rights protections, adjudicator independence, and self-policed recusal all exist for good reasons. This insulates professionals from political retaliation, but they also make removing the bad actors, the bad performers, really hard. And finally, another real, where accountability breaks down is our attention, right? If we aren't paying attention to it, or there's so much to pay attention to, how do we focus long enough on a real problem before the next big story happens, before the next problem happens, right? Electoral cycles are short and they seem to be constant, but problems are long, right? And so it may be on the front page one day of the newspaper, and the next day it's on page 16, and the next day it's not even in the paper anymore. So our key takeaways here. Accountability requires all three types: answerability, enforceability, and controllability. Not a single one is not enough. Administrators answer to 5 masters all at once: political, legal, administrative, professional, and social. Most oversight is fire alarm. Internal oversight has knowledge. External oversight has independence. Layering them is what we normally do. And accountability is a constraint and a tool for performance. The goal is to balance autonomy. The goal is balance, right? Not maximum control. All right, that's it. We made it through our last one here. Please stay around for the final wrap-up video and discussion page, and I will see you next time. Bye.